Welcome back to Glitch Frequency. Today, we discuss Kisaragi Station.
We're taking you back to that freezing winter night of 2004 to dismantle the digital spiriting away hidden behind late-night commuter trains and a platform that shouldn't exist.
Imagine relying on a piece of technology so completely that you feel totally comfortable just, falling asleep inside it every single day.
Right, like your daily commute.
Exactly. You trust the commuter train to carry you from point A to point B. I mean, it functions like this unpausable conveyor belt of reality for most of us.
Yeah, you don't even think about it.
You really don't. But what happens when you wake up and that conveyor belt has quietly just dropped off the edge of the known world?
That is a terrifying thought.
It really is. So today, our mission for this deep dive is to explore how a single anonymous forum post birthed like one of the internet's most enduring and terrifying urban legends.
Yeah, we've got a really fascinating stack of sources for this one. We're looking at analyses by Japanese folklorists, deep internet archives, and documentary investigations.
Because we really want to understand how ancient folklore kind of mutated to prey on our modern digital age anxieties.
Right, and to really understand how this phenomenon took root, we have to look at the exact timeline. How the internet actively crowdsourced a mythology and the underlying psychology of why this specific narrative just continues to terrify us.
It's basically a story where reliable everyday infrastructure just violently collides with the absolute unknown.
So let's paint the picture. If we are sitting at our computer desks on January 8, 2004, what are we seeing unfold on our screens?
Okay, so you have to put yourself in the headspace of the early internet, right?
Yeah, totally different world.
Completely. We are on the Japanese Message Board 2 channel, specifically in a thread titled, Post Here If Strange Things Happen Around You.
Which is already a great setup.
Right. And for those who don't know, 2 channel in 2004 wasn't like modern social media at all. I mean, there were no profile pictures, no follower counts, no upvotes.
None of that validation stuff we have now.
Exactly. It was just this raw, anonymous, chronological stream of text. People used it to share incredibly candid, unfiltered slice-of-life moments in real time. It really felt like standing in a crowded room where everyone is just whispering in the dark.
That format is really crucial, isn't it? Because, there's no algorithm pushing the best content to the top.
No, not at all.
So the only way a story survives on a board like that is if the community actively engages with it and keeps the thread alive themselves.
Yes, they have to feed it. And at 11:14 p.m., a user who later goes by the handle Hasumi drops a message into that stream.
Okay.
She writes that she is riding her usual commuter train, the Enshu Railway in Shizuoka Prefecture, but something is completely off.
Now, if I'm sitting on a train and it feels off, my first assumption is just, mechanical trouble or some kind of schedule delay. What specifically triggered her alarm here?
It was the sheer duration of the movement. She posts that the train has been running for about 20 minutes without making a single stop.
Wait, really? 20 minutes?
Yeah. And on her normal route, this train stops every 5 to 8 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely freak me out.
Right. But it's not just the speed, it's the whole environment. She describes this incredibly desolate atmosphere. The car is dead silent. There are, I think, 5 other passengers in her carriage, and every single one of them is fast asleep.
Oh, wow. That instantly strips away the comfort of the crowd,
Yeah.
Even on a public train, psychologically, she is entirely alone in that moment.
Totally isolated.
Did she try to find the conductor or anyone in charge?
She did. She was worried that the driver might have suffered like a medical emergency or something, so she walked up to the conductor's compartment. The blinds were pulled tightly shut. She knocked on the window, and there was absolutely no response.
Silence.
Well, no human response, just the relentless metallic clacking of the train rushing forward into the winter night.
That is so creepy. So she's trapped in a speeding metal tube with an unresponsive driver and a bunch of unconscious passengers.
Exactly. It is the literal definition of a liminal space. I mean, she is caught in a transition that just refuses to end.
And it escalates, right? Like the train suddenly plunges into a tunnel.
Yeah, and Hasumi notes to the forum that this tunnel has never been on her daily commute before.
A whole new tunnel just appears.
Right. And then, finally, the train begins to decelerate. It pulls into a station, and she posts this real-time update. She says, "It looks like a station. We are stopped at Kisaragi Station. Should I get off? I've never heard of or seen this place."
The instinct to get off that train must have been so overwhelming. But, I mean, stepping out into an unverified location at midnight seems just as dangerous, if not more so.
The forum users were completely divided on this. Some were telling her, no, stay on until the end of the line, while others were warning her to just get away from that unresponsive conductor.
So what does she do?
At 11:40 p.m., she makes her choice and steps off the train.
Oh, man.
She updates the thread describing this unstaffed platform. There's no timetable, no ticket machine.
Just abandoned.
Completely. When she looks past the station, there are no houses, no glowing vending machines, no taxis waiting. There is literally nothing but an empty, sweeping landscape of grasslands and mountains.
See, this is 2004, so smartphones obviously aren't ubiquitous yet. But cell phones definitely had basic navigation back then. Couldn't she just, ping her location?
She tries, but the GPS throws a complete error. You have to keep in mind, GPS on flip phones back then relied really heavily on cellular triangulation rather than like the advanced satellite mapping we use today.
Right, it needed cell towers.
Exactly. If the phone couldn't ping a known cell tower, the location simply didn't exist to the network. Kisaragi Station was completely unmappable.
So she's totally off the grid.
Yeah, so seeking a lifeline, she calls her parents to come pick her up. But when she tells them she's at Kisaragi Station, they tell her no such place exists in Shizuoka.
They must have been so confused.
They were. They actually urge her to call the police.
Which leads to what I think is honestly the most terrifying part of this whole ordeal. She dials 110, the Japanese emergency number, and the police actually dismiss her call as a late-night prank.
Yes, they literally get angry with her and hang up.
You have to consider the psychological impact of that moment. I mean, the police represent the ultimate societal safety net.
Right, they're the people who are supposed to help you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they hang up, the illusion of the civilized world just shatters completely.
Mm-hmm.
She is officially entirely on her own.
It really forces you, as the listener, to confront your own vulnerability. We all assume that if things go wrong, someone in a uniform will come save us. Hasumi realizes no one is coming.
So what does she even do next?
She makes a desperate decision to walk back along the tracks, like toward where she came from. And as she's walking in the dark, she posts that she can hear something incredibly unsettling.
Oh, no.
Echoing from a distance, she hears the distinct, rhythmic sound of taiko drums and bells.
Out in the middle of nowhere past midnight. I mean, that is an auditory hallucination designed to just break your sanity.
It really is. The forum users are frantic at this point. They're practically begging her in the text thread not to look back.
And she listens, right?
Well, then she hears a voice behind her yell, "Hey, it's dangerous to walk on the tracks."
Oh, so she thinks she's saved.
Exactly. Assuming it's a station attendant who finally found her, she turns around. But standing about 10 meters away on the tracks is an old man missing one leg. And before she can even process the sight, he just vanishes into thin air.
The sheer adrenaline spike of that encounter would send anyone running totally blind.
And run she does. She panics and sprints until she reaches this pitch-black tunnel named the Isanuki Tunnel.
Just running into the dark.
She forces herself to walk through total darkness for 20 agonizing minutes. When she stumbles out the other side, exhausted and crying, someone is waiting for her. A stranger standing by a car offers her a ride to a nearby business hotel.
Which, logically, is a terrible idea, getting into a stranger's car at 3 a.m. in the mountains. But if we look at her psychological state, her normal reality has been suspended for hours. She is desperate for anything resembling human normalcy.
Right, even if it defies all common sense.
But her relief is super short-lived. Once she gets in, the car doesn't head toward a town. It drives deeper into the treacherous mountain roads.
Of course it does.
The stranger stops answering her panicked questions and begins muttering completely incomprehensible, disjointed phrases to himself.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah. At 3:44 a.m., with her phone battery critically low, she posts her final message to the board. His behavior is strange, so I'm going to look for a chance to run. I'm making this my last post just in case.
And then the live stream simply goes permanently dark. She just vanishes into the digital void.
It's so abrupt.
Because this was happening live, the audience wasn't just, reading a spooky story. They felt actively responsible for her survival.
Right, they were a part of it.
That participatory nature is exactly why her disappearance left this massive vacuum that the internet just felt compelled to fill. The mystery couldn't just end there.
It went dormant for a while, but it certainly didn't die. 7 years later, in 2011, the story reawakened in a way that really blurred the line between collaborative fiction and reality.
Okay, what happened?
A mysterious post surfaced on a website dedicated to compiling these types of urban legends. The anonymous user claimed to be the original Hasumi.
Wait, logistically, how does a community just accept an anonymous post from 7 years later as the genuine article? I mean, did she use a trip code, those unique cryptographic identifiers people use on anonymous boards to prove who they are?
Well, some people debated the cryptography fiercely,
Right.
but the broader community just embraced the post because they really needed closure.
They just wanted to believe it so badly, they collectively suspended their disbelief.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And the story she told was wild. She claimed that on that night in 2004, the driver suddenly stopped the car in a dark forest. A man approached from the right, and the driver vanished in a blinding flash of light.
Okay, getting very sci-fi now.
Right. The new man ordered her to run toward the light. She wrote that she ran until the light became overwhelmingly bright, and when she opened her eyes, she was standing in front of a real, familiar train station.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And her parents were there, calling out to her from their car.
But if the year was 2011, did her parents know she had been missing for 7 years?
See, that is the most disorienting detail. She wrote that to her only a few terrifying hours had passed. But it was indeed 7 years later, the real world, and her parents acted entirely normal.
Like they didn't even notice.
Exactly. As if they were just picking her up from a regular late shift. It implied she had been trapped in an alternate dimension where time flowed at a drastically different rate, and reality seamlessly stitched itself back together when she returned.
That twist is fascinating, but it highlights a massive shift in how the internet handles folklore. By 2011, the lore had completely outgrown Hasumi. It was no longer just her story.
No. It became an open-source universe. Netizens began discovering neighboring stations on this phantom railway line. People started reporting that they, too, had slipped through the cracks of the transit system.
Oh, so they were adding their own lore.
Exactly. They documented ending up at places called Yami Station, which translates to darkness, and Katasu Station. Others mapped out entirely fabricated transit hubs like Tsukunomiya and Go Station. They essentially drew a complete, self-expanding map of the other world.
It transitioned from a campfire ghost story where people just listened into this open-source augmented reality game where the audience became the authors.
Yeah, exactly.
And once we hit the social media era around 2012, with the explosion of Twitter in Japan, this must have turned into a full-blown carnival.
Oh, absolutely. The shift from the text-based isolation of Web 1.0 to the performative virality of Web 2.0 changed everything. People began posting photos to Twitter claiming they were standing on the platform at Kisaragi Station.
Let me guess, people figured out they were fake.
Oh, yeah. Internet sleuth would quickly debunk them by analyzing the lighting, the station architecture, the train schedules, proving they were just heavily filtered photos of obscure real-world stops like Misadani Station.
That's hilarious.
Pranksters even manipulated Google Maps. In 2014, someone successfully tagged the real-world location of Tsukuba University as Kisaragi Station, meaning anyone could pull out their smartphone and get driving directions to a literal ghost town.
That permanently burns the legend into the cultural memory. But it brings us to a really critical question, I think. Why did this specific story catch fire so intensely? I mean, the internet is flooded with millions of creepy stories, but Kisaragi Station endures.
It's a great question, and if we dive into the folklorist analyses we found, it becomes clear that this story secretly taps into deeply rooted cultural fears hiding right under our daily routines.
So to unpack the mechanics of that fear, we have to look at the work of folklorist Azusato Itsuki. He analyzed this phenomenon extensively, and he points out that in modern society, trains are the ultimate symbols of rigid structure, routine, and civilization.
Right. You get on a train and you enter a social contract. You expect it to stop at the designated station on a map.
It's a highly predictable, regulated system that we surrender our agency to every single day.
But when that train bypasses its stops and plunges into an unfamiliar tunnel, it completely breaks that contract.
Yeah.
It transforms into what Azato describes as a moving locked room.
A moving locked room. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, it represents the sudden, violent collapse of our daily routine.
Yeah.
You can't just open a door on a speeding commuter train. You're entirely at the mercy of a mindless, metallic kidnapper.
And the psychological shock of that loss of control is immense. Historically, if someone vanished without a trace in Japan, it was called Kamikakushi, spiriting away.
Like in the Ghibli movie.
Exactly. People believed children who wandered into the woods were taken by gods or mythical creatures like Tengu. But in the 21st century, we don't fear the deep woods as much as we fear the subway tunnel. The anxiety has simply transferred to the technology we blindly trust.
It is a flawless execution of modern-day Kamikakushi. But what elevates Kisaragi Station to a masterpiece of internet folklore is how it secretly weaves in ancient local legends, specifically from Shizuoka Prefecture.
Yes. The drums and the bells that Hasumi heard while walking on the tracks, that wasn't just a random spooky detail she threw in to heighten the tension.
No, it has a very specific meaning.
Right. If we look at the research of Japan's most famous folklorist, Yanagita Kunio, he extensively documented a phenomenon known as yamabayashi, which translates to phantom festival music.
According to local mountain lore in Shizuoka, mischievous yukai, or shape-shifting tanuki, would create the auditory illusion of distant festival music.
And think about why that is so insidious. Festival music promises safety, light, people, and community, right?
Yeah, it draws you in.
To hear that while you are isolated in a desolate wasteland is a cruel trick. It uses your own hope against you to lure you off the path and lead you astray in the dark. The taiko drums Hasumi heard were a direct trigger for an ancestral fear specific to that region. It's literally ancient folklore wearing digital clothing.
That synthesis of old-world fear and new-world technology is why Kisaragi Station evolved from a simple forum post into a massive cultural IP. I mean, it's inspired feature films, anime adaptations like Other Side Picnic, and countless indie horror games.
And it achieved all of this without relying on any traditional J-horror tropes.
Right, there are no vengeful spirits crawling out of television sets here. The terror relies entirely on the mechanical dread of an endless wrong commute and the sheer wrongness of the environment.
Isn't it fascinating that our greatest modern fear isn't necessarily a monster under the bed, it's just a catastrophic glitch in the systems we trust to keep us safe?
Absolutely. And because that dread of a failing system is so deeply universal, the internet collectively decided it needed a defense mechanism. If you acknowledge that this modern myth could happen to you, you need modern rules to survive it.
Which brings us to the survival guide. Netizens actually analyzed the, quote, painful experiences of people who supposedly wandered into this alternate transit network, and they compiled a rigorous list of absolute rules.
Humans just love making rules.
We do, because creating rules for a chaotic unknown is how humans build psychological armor. So if you ever find yourself on a train that hasn't stopped in way too long, here's the protocol you must follow.
Rule number 1, stay awake. Under no circumstances should you allow yourself to fall asleep. Furthermore, do not consume any food or drinks while on an abnormal train.
That directly mirrors ancient fairy tale mechanics. It's the Persephone rule, right?
Yeah,
If you eat the food of the underworld, you tether yourself to that dimension forever.
exactly. And the rule number 2, stand your ground. If you eventually pull into a station like Kisaragi, never leave the ticket gate. And absolutely do not walk into pitch black tunnels.
Which, as we know, is exactly where Hasumi went wrong.
Yep, she broke the rule before it existed. Rule number 3, refuse interaction. If any stranger speaks to you, whether it's an old man missing a leg or a driver offering you a ride, do not respond.
And above all, do not look back. That is pure Orpheus and Eurydice right there. You cannot acknowledge the denizens of the other world, or you invite them into yours.
Finally, there is a bizarre rule for physical escape that emerged in the later lore. Rumors suggest that if you are trapped at the station, burning your personal belongings like a notebook, a receipt, or an item of clothing will create a specific kind of smoke that can fracture the spatial barrier and return you to reality.
We're basically applying video game logic to existential trauma. It proves that even when faced with terrifying, uncontrollable scenarios, human beings will desperately invent walkthroughs to feel like they have some semblance of control. We literally map the unmappable just to feel safe on our commute tomorrow morning.
Even though the real Enshu Railway only has Sagonomiya Station, and Kisaragi Station is merely a ghost woven out of text, that 2004 livestream still echoes in the minds of countless commuters to this day. It endures because it violently rips open a void of the unknown right inside the mundane routines we take for granted.
Imagine tonight, after finishing a late shift, you drag your exhausted body onto the last train home. The train's intercom suddenly cuts out. It plunges into a tunnel, rushing forward without stopping.
Do you dare look up at the sign to see the name of the next station? Frequency tuning ends here. See you next episode.